information is relevant to your local restaurant, is relevant to the print shop, literally to everyone. Either they have a business or they know someone that does. So do your research on either something like this or other things that are relevant to today's day and time, and share it out with your community.
Welcome to the Whissel Way Podcast. My name is Kyle Whissel. I'm your host with eXp Realty here out of San Diego.
And I am Bryan, Koci, Media and Marketing Director in Whissel Realty at Whissel Realty Group in San Diego.
I love it.
It's your pause that kills me, man. You just pause and look at me.
Awesome, guys. The goal of the show is to give you the tools and techniques that you need to go out there and crush it in your business, whether that be real estate, mortgage, or really any business out there. One of the ways that we like to do this is to answer the questions that you have for us. The way to ask those questions is within our Facebook group known as the Whissel Way. If you want to join that group and ask questions, you want to subscribe to the podcast, the YouTube channel, if you want to find out about upcoming events that we have going on, should be scrolling across the bottom of the screen if you're watching this, or if you're listening to it, just go to thewhisselway.com and you can check that out. Would love for you guys to connect. Yes, thewhisselway.com.
It cut out there for a second.
Okay, sorry, wife disturbing me in the middle of a podcast. It's cool.
This is the work from home version, huh?
This is, yes, sir. So, Bryan, what is our question for the day?
So, like I just said, we're working from home. We're all working from home. This is a very interesting time. We'd like to make podcasts typically evergreen, but I think it's really important that we do some things that are very pertinent to this time. Right now, we're filming this in the midst of the COVID-19 coronavirus lockdown, and there are businesses. Literally, this is affecting every person in some way or another. Stay-at-home orders, businesses are closing, businesses are going under. There's lots of people are getting laid off. There's lots of things going on. Luckily, I'm not making this political at all, but we have some support being backed by our government in a few different ways. Obviously, Kyle, I think you're really, even though you're not a CPA, and I know you'll say it 100 times, I think you're fairly qualified to dive in to some information about some loans that are going on, because you are a small business owner. You have applied for these loans, and these loans are hopefully going to carry myself and my media team through this difficult time by getting our salaries paid. So I know that there's two main types of loans, and you have kind of pros and cons of each. Can you just dive into it?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of different components to the stimulus that was passed, known as the CARES Act. And I want to share the two main ones that are going to affect or be applicable to the majority of small business owners out there. And these are all provided through the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration. So everything, if you want any info on these, you want the real info, the no bullshit info, go to sba.gov. That is where all of the information is. Anything you read off of that site is interpretation. Anything you read on that site is fact. So I want to make sure we get that out there. The second thing I want to get out there before we dive into it is you got to be really, really careful these days. There's a lot of scammers out there. When they know that there's money available, it's the easiest time in the world to scam people. I almost got scammed personally. I got an email last week and I was like, oh shit, I got the application early before everybody else. And I clicked on it. I got this email from the SBA, clicked on it, and it had a form. I started filling the form out. And then something was weird with the questions. I was like, let me go back and check something. Then I was like, holy shit, this is a Cognito form. Cognito forms is what I use to have my offer submission website built out. I was like, that's really weird. The government would use Cognito forms. And then I checked the URL and I was like, this doesn't have .gov in it. Interesting. So then I copied the URL without the whole extension, just the root URL. And it was like sbadisasterloans.com or something. And I pasted that in and it was just completely bullshit website. And so luckily I didn't fill the application out and submit it because they were asking for like social security numbers and all kinds of shit on there. So luckily I caught it before actually hitting a submit button on there. So just be careful, guys, first and foremost, before we dive into this stuff. There's a lot of scams going around out there. You cannot be too careful. So I'm going to be very clear too on where you get these loans, because the E.I.D.L loan and the PPP loan are the two primary loans that we're going to talk about. The E.I.D.L loan is the Economic Impact Disaster Loan. Some people are referring to it as the E.I.D.L loan, but essentially it's the E.I.D.L loan. This is through the SBA. The important thing to note with this one is that this is applied through the SBA directly and no other place. So if there's any bank that's telling you they can help you with the E.I.D.L loan, if there's any person, anything, they're full of shit. The only way to apply for the E.I.D.L loan is directly at sba.gov, and you'll fill the application out on there. So a little clarification on this: originally when they announced this disaster loan, you filled it out on their website, and it was very, very long. Like, you had to upload a ton of documents. It took hours and hours to complete this thing. It was a total nightmare. They originally had that in March, and we had filled ours out initially, I think March 24th. And then a few days later, I believe on the 30th or 31st, they were like, we're going to shit can that long version, and we're just going to have a streamlined version. And so they did a new application. I think it was released on the 31st, if I remember correctly. And that application takes like 4 minutes to complete. It's much more streamlined, hence the name on it, and it doesn't require you to upload a ton of documents. When they first announced this E.I.D.L loan, they said that you just fill out this application within 3 business days. We'll send you $10,000. We're like, holy shit, $10,000, that's pretty cool. So millions and millions of small business owners filled this thing out, and nobody got their $10,000 within 3 days. And they have since come out and said, well, I know we said we were going to send you 10,000, and then we said we were going to do it in 3 days, but we're not really. What we're really going to do is send it within 3 days of approval, and we're only going to send $1,000 per employee, up to $10,000. So a lot of people had one employee, self included, with some of my other businesses, and thought that I was going to get a $10,000 check in 3 days. But that's not the case. They are doing these grants. So what it ultimately is boiling down to is they're doing grants, $1,000 per employee, up to 10 employees. As of Friday, people have actually started getting this money for real. Like, this money really exists. So the initial part of the E.I.D.L loan is that they'll just give you an advance anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000, and that is essentially a grant. You do not have to pay that money back. That is just to give you some immediate cash to help cover your expenses during this disaster, hence the Economic Impact Disaster Loan. Then in addition, they will ultimately, over a period of time, who knows how long it's going to take, they'll review that for a loan. Now, the loan that they provide is actually really attractive, in my opinion. The term is over 30 years. The interest rate is 3.75%, and up to $2 million on this loan. And then the beautiful part is, depending on how they structure yours, they're going to have no payments due for either 6 or 12 months. So they're going to give you a significant sum of money at a relatively low interest rate, paid back over a long period of time with no payments due for the first few months to help get you through this. So I love the E.I.D.L loan for that. I love the long term. I love the low interest rate. I love the fact you don't have any payments due immediately, and they're going to give you a little bit of an advance on it as well.
Kyle, you mentioned here and in the past 6 or 12 months until your first payment. Is that just because you're not sure on the time, or are they different for different people, or what's that?
It just depends on how they structure yours.
Okay.
So it could be 6, it could be 12. I think a lot of it's going to depend on your business, your need, the amount. There's going to be a variety of factors. So that one's not set in stone, whether it's 6 or 12. It could be 6 or 12, just depending on you.
Cool.
But that's the E.I.D.L loan. Again, the most important thing with this one is you can only apply for this on sba.gov, nowhere else. So if somebody's telling you to apply elsewhere, they're full of shit. So that's the E.I.D.L loan. And that is really to help get you through this hard time, to give you the cash that you need. We applied for this loan with the intention of using it to pay for a lot of the things in our business, the different systems that we use, the different marketing and the different advertising, and a lot of those types of expenses that we have. Then the second loan that SBA is offering is called the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program. And this loan, the objective is to give you this money and you will use it for four things, really three, four, however you look at it. Number one is the rent or the mortgage, and only the mortgage interest for your building, your payroll, and your utilities. So 4, 3, however you look at it. If you own your building, it'll cover the mortgage interest. If you rent, they'll cover the rent. But they'll give you 2.5 times, the amount of this loan is 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. So if your average monthly payroll is $10,000, then loan amount would be $25,000. If your average monthly payroll is $20,000, a loan would be $50,000.
Now, why do they do that? And why 2.5 times?
So the way that it works is once you get this loan, and I'll just clarify, this is a 2-year term and 1% interest. 2-year term, 1% interest, no payments for 6 months. So what this means is you're going to have 18 months to pay this thing off at a 1% rate, but it's a total 2-year term. So 6 months, this one is 6 months, no payments set. This isn't 6 or 12. So no payments for 6 months, and then you'll pay off the loan over the next 18 months. Unless you use the loan for those 4 things I mentioned: rent, mortgage interest, utilities, and payroll. Whatever you use for those 4 purposes is forgiven. What does that mean? That means that you don't have to pay that money back. They're just giving it to
buying
you.
more buildings and shit.
They're just giving it to you. There's rules, right? There's rules, Brian. You can't go buy something now. It's got to be a building you owned prior to, I think, sometime in February, or you've already been renting it. You can't go, I'm going to get money. I'm going to go rent out like a $50,000 a month building. Like, it doesn't work that way. There's rules. Go on their website. You can get all those rules. But the key here is that they're going to let you use money for 8 weeks. So for 2 months, essentially, whatever you use from the time the money's dispersed for those 4 purposes: rent, mortgage interest, payroll, utilities, whatever you use for those 8 weeks is forgiven. You don't have to pay it back. So I think what they figured is 2.5 times the average monthly payroll. By the time people pay all their staff for 8 weeks, plus pay their rent, plus pay their utilities, that 2.5 times their average monthly payroll should be enough money to cover all of those things. Therefore, they'll forgive the entire thing. So again,
I see. I thought it was 2.5 times each month they give you
a one-time loan. So
that makes more sense.
They give you 25 grand. Your payroll was 10 grand a month. So 10 grand for payroll, 10 grand for payroll. There's 5 grand left over. You can use that 5 grand. Maybe 4,000 of that is for rent and 1,000 of that is for utilities. You just used it all, and 100% of that will be forgiven. You'll have to prove that you used it for those things, but you don't have to pay that shit back. It's freaking free money.
Okay.
Like, you do not have to pay it back. Now, the key with this one is you do not apply for this on SBA.gov. You get all the info on SBA.gov. SBA.gov has a list of the lenders that can administer this program. They have something called the lender match tool that you can fill out to find lenders in your area that are participating in the program, but you have to work through your bank. These loans are administered by the bank, not SBA.gov. So the E.I.D.L loan is strictly through SBA.gov. The PPP is strictly through banks. So first thing you should do is connect with your local bank, whoever you bank with. They're going to be the person who should be able to help you with this. If they've already maxed out their capacity or they're not a participating bank, then your best bet is to go to SBA.gov, use the lender match tool, and they'll connect you with a lender in your area that is a participating lender. And that's where we're actually applying through 2 different banks. One is through my primary bank that I bank with or I have a relationship, and one is through one of these lender match banks. Why am I doing it through 2? There's pros and cons to it, but I need to make sure that we get ours because, 1, we need it because our income is down significantly right now, and 2, there's a limited supply of money. So we need to make sure that we get this done ASAP. So whichever of those 2 banks gets this shit done first is going to get the business. And these banks, from what I understand, make a pretty nice commission on the back end of it. So
good.
They've got incentive to get this shit done as quick as they can. So yeah, 2.5 times whatever your average monthly payroll is. So again, if you have a $10,000, that's a $25,000 loan. You use it for all the right things. You could literally never pay that money back. So that could be completely forgiven for you.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
That's really good for. I mean, it's really good for a lot of businesses. And one thing that you're doing really well right now is you're finding this information, obviously, because it's important to you and your business and our business. But one thing that I think you're doing really well, that if you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching the live especially, do your research on things that are helping you and your business right now, and then share it out with people like we're doing right now. Kyle's done this live several times to business owners in different community groups. So that way, if this information is relevant to your local restaurant, is relevant to the print shop, to the literally to everyone. Either they have a business or they know someone that does. So if do your research on either something like this or other things that are relevant to today's day and time, and share it out with your community.
Yeah, I mean, if you can help save one small business in your community, that's freaking awesome. Like one, that's my goal. If I just want to save at least one, if I could save more than one, that's fantastic. But be public about it. Like set that as a public intention that that's what you want to do. Your community will appreciate the fact that you're doing this. You're taking time out of your day to share your knowledge, share your experience. That stuff is greatly appreciated right now because everybody's wondering, how does this work? What do I do? Oh my gosh, oh my God. Like share the progress. Like one of the things that I've learned is that they will pull your credit. And a lot of people within a few days of having their credit pulled by the SBA, they've actually received their E.I.D.L advance, the $1,000 to $10,000. Well, my credit got pulled on both Saturday and Monday. So I'm very hopeful. We're recording this today on Monday. I'm very hopeful that I see that initial advance come through here sometime this week. So, share that, right? I shared that with everybody that's following me because I want them to know, and it gives people hope. And when you can provide hope and optimism, of course, see, you guys think I'm full of shit with Bryan and his cats. They're everywhere. Usually he has a cat condo in the background too. If you could share this with other people and provide hope and optimism, that's the number one thing people want as we go through this, COVID crisis here. So provide that, share that. Hopefully that helps. Again, I'm not a CPA. Talk to a CPA, financial advisor, attorney, all of that stuff. But the key, E.I.D.L loan through SBA.gov, PPP loan through your local bank. Go out, right? We're all affected, especially if you're involved in real estate. You're definitely affected right now. So go out there. There's a limited supply of this money, so make sure that you go and get yours. And if there's anything we can do to help, feel free, post comments here, or shoot me a DM if you want to ask a personal question on that stuff. I'm happy to help out with it.
Real quick, before we get into the widget of the week, William Tong mentioned that if you apply, make sure you write down your application number. That's the only way to track the E.I.D.L progress and funding.
Yes. And they don't send you that number via email. So take a screenshot. Another good tip is just like when you're following up with leads, right? You have a CRM, and every time you call a lead or text a lead, you're logging it. Do that same thing with these. Make sure all right, I submitted this day, and here's a screenshot proving I submitted it. Then I received an email this day. Take a screenshot. Keep a log of all of that stuff for your file. That'll help you out big time. All right, Bryan, let's switch it up, bro. We're going to shift it over to our widgets of the week. These are things that we're utilizing in our business to save us time, make us more money, or just help us have more fun. So, Bryan, what do you got for us today?
So my widget is a free widget. You don't have to download anything. You don't have to install anything. You don't have to do anything different than you already do, but it's going to save me a lot of time and help me be a lot more active on one of the biggest social networks out there. And that is, they have finally released the direct message or DM capability on Instagram. So you can DM through the web version. I personally like to type on my keyboard much more than swipe on my phone. I don't like using my phone as much as my keyboard. And so now you can go to Instagram, go to someone's profile, click I think it just says message, and you can send DMs through the desktop or through your internet browser. I use Chrome. I would assume it's throughout the rest of them, but it's literally no download, no nothing. It's just they have finally opened it up. Hopefully they'll do a desktop app at some point so that way I can just have that up and running. But I've been really resistant to use Instagram as much as I should because everything has to be done through your phone, and I really, really prefer to do things through the computer. So that's my widget. It's free.
I don't know if I can handle another desktop app. I usually have iMessage, Workplace Chat, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger. All
WhatsApp.
four of those. Some clients that are out of area,
Interesting.
they prefer to text via WhatsApp.
Workplace Chat. I have Messenger from Facebook. Those are the two I have.
Yeah. I don't know. I need another screen just for chat programs.
That's what I
All
have.
right, cool. The widget I want to share is literally the widget we're using right this second. So if you're listening to this, you won't see this, but if you are watching the live stream of this or the YouTube version of it on our channel, you will see it. We're using a service called StreamYard. And I love this service. We've used a couple different services for going live. We love going live. What I love with StreamYard that makes it really, really unique is that I can go live in 5 places simultaneously. So we've done some videos recently talking about these loan programs where I've gone live on my Facebook profile in this the Whissel Way Facebook group and another Facebook group we run called the Be Different Mastermind. Also live on my LinkedIn page, also live on the Whissel Way YouTube channel, all 5 simultaneously, which is insane. The amount of extra reach you get by being live in 5 places at once is crazy. In addition, it allows a lot of fun stuff on screen to where we can have a ticker scrolling across the bottom like we do now. We can run side-by-side versions, 2 boxes. We can run screen shares. We can do all kinds of fun stuff. We could show Brian's cats. You can easily shift people in and out. You could have up to 6 people on the screen at one time. You can brand it. You could do all kinds of fun stuff with it. So huge fan of StreamYard. We'll provide a link as well that you guys can sign up and you get like $10 off, I think, with that link. So we'll make sure that we share that in the show notes. And if you're watching the live in our Facebook group, we'll share a link within the comments as well. But StreamYard is a game changer.
The free and paid versions.
They do have a free version. Yeah. So I mean, play with the free version one time, right? It'll have their brand and stuff on it, their watermark, but it's free. But if you really want to step it up to the big boy status and have all the options, I think it's like $50 a month, which is pretty reasonable if you go live a lot. The fact that you can reach all those places at once is huge.
Patrice said she used to have 3 iPhones recording in order to stream on multiple platforms. Yep.
That's gangster. I love it.
We've done 2. 3 is pretty legit.
Yeah. We used to have 2 phones on a stick.
Yep.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's what we got for you. Hopefully you got some value out of the show today. We'd love to stay connected with you. The best way to connect with us, go to thewhisselway.com. You can join our Facebook group on there where you can ask questions that'll get answered here on the show. You can also subscribe to our podcast, our YouTube channel, and find out about upcoming events that we've got going on, like our Media Mayor Mastermind, which is a 2-day deep dive into everything video, where Brian and I share everything we've learned over the last 5+ years of working together.
Yeah, so the goal was to do 3 this year. We had to postpone 1 that had 17 out of 20 seats sold. We'll have to see when this finishes up, but I've got my end of the year blocked out because my wife and I are expecting. So we're not going to be doing one at the end of the year. So if this clears up and we can squeeze one in before our due date, we'll hopefully get one done this year. So yeah,
let's make it happen. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to the Whissel Way Podcast. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya.
Wait. Before you leave, I want to share some more tips and tricks that we're using in our business to take it to that next level. Just click right here. And don't forget to subscribe. Click right here.